You are Locked On Giants Postcast, part of Locked On Sports San Francisco on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yo, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Locked On Giants Postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. You may know me as the former producer for the Murph and Mac Morning Show on KMBR. And today, more drama out in New York, but the Giants on the wrong side of this one this time as the Mets storm back in the bottom of the ninth to beat the Giants in walk-off fashion. 4-3 is your final. Logan Webb was great today on the bump. 7 strong from the Giants ace, who looked a lot better in this start and his prior start on the road than he did in any of his road starts prior to those this season. But today, with Camilo Doval unavailable to pitch, Tyler Rogers comes in to close it out in the ninth and could not get it done. Why not Ryan Walker instead? We'll break it all down, but first, I want to thank all of you for watching us on the Locked On Sports San Francisco YouTube channel. Please hit that subscribe button. Thanks also for listening on the Locked On Giants podcast feed. Make sure to check out the Locked On Giants Daily Show for more in-depth coverage. Ben Kaswick does a great job. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Logan Webb was dealing in this one, and I was really hoping we were going to be able to get a win for Webby, man. But after 7 strong, we get a weird choice by Bob Melvin in the ninth inning again, which I believe in Bob. I know I like him as a manager. I think he's got a lot better of a feel for the game than what we've had in recent years in San Francisco with Gabe Kapler on the bench, but the ninth inning decisions are starting to get weird, man. Like the Luciano defense making a Luciano defensive sub in the ninth inning. That was weird the other day, like yesterday. And now Tyler Rogers pitching in the ninth instead of Ryan Walker when Ryan Walker pitched the inning prior. I don't understand. I really don't. Ryan Walker has been dominant this season. Tyler Rogers has been really, really good too, but Ryan Walker's been on another level. We'll get into all of that, but I want to walk through some highlights from this one first. In the bottom of the first inning, the very first notable thing that happened in this game was Logan Webb coming up limping after covering first base on a ground out. It was not a great sign. Looked like he kind of took a short step to, like, his steps weren't perfectly timed for him to run to first base. Took like an extra little half step to step on the bag, and he was trying to slow himself down at the same time. A ton of force coming down on that foot while he's trying to slow himself down and step on the base. And he landed on it kind of awkwardly. It looked like he wasn't feeling too great after that. Took a little slow walk back to the dugout. Kind of wondered if he was going to come out of the game right then and there, because you got to have your feet ready to go as a pitcher. You can't be pushing off those feet if they're not feeling good. But Webby stayed in the game and seemed to get stronger as he went on. And the Giants offense gave him a little bit of run support in this one. Not a ton, but in the second inning, Chapman doubles. Flores, a productive out, moves him to third. And then after a pitch in the dirt, the Mets catcher tries to backpick Matt Chapman, just throws the ball into left field. Matt Chapman scores 1-0. Giants take an early lead on a Mets mistake. Then the Mets get that run right back. In the bottom of the second, a bad feed from Wilmer Flores to Logan Webb as he's going to cover first on another ground ball. The feed was behind Webb. The ball was very hard. It was a hard play to make. He had to contort his body to try to make the play. And I can already see people trying to draw similarities between this and the play that happened yesterday. Logan Webb did get the error on the play. He probably should have been able to ring it in, but this is Logan Webb we're talking about, trying to cover first, a pitcher trying to cover first. We're not talking about a guy who should be your best athlete and best defender on the field, not able to handle a feed from your second baseman. That also, that feed wasn't really behind Luciano yesterday. This one was much different. Very, very different play. Still an error on Webb. Still a play Webb should make, but just a tough feed to handle. And in any case, the ball kind of kicks away. DJ Stewart takes second base on the play. Then a Harrison Bader single to right scores Stewart from second base. Alex McKenna almost gunned him down at the plate. He had a nice rifle from right field, put the ball right on the money at home plate, but just a half step behind the runner. That error ends up costing the Giants a run. I mean, the Mets get a run on a single to right field. That shouldn't happen. Mets tie it up 1-1. And then the Giants respond immediately. Next half inning, top three, Brett Wisely swats a home run to give the Giants the lead right back. Bailey doubled down the left field line in that inning as well, but ended up being stranded. Giants, however, take the lead back 2-1. Bailey throws out Lindor in the bottom of the third, trying to steal second. And by the way, Pat Bailey's headband is like an image of George Washington crossing the Delaware. I just noticed that today when they were zooming in on him in the dugout after that throw down to second base. And I kind of thought to myself, what's on his headband? I paused the TV and I zoomed in, and he's got George Washington crossing the Delaware in the old wooden boat. You know exactly which image I'm telling you about. It's in like every single like history book in elementary school. You learn about the Revolutionary War. I feel like 90% of the time you're just looking at that picture. I mean, maybe if you're the British, you're not getting across the Delaware when George Washington's out there, and if you're the Mets, you're not stealing second base when Pat Bailey's out there. So shout out Pat Bailey and I guess the founding fathers all in one. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this. Webb strikes out the side in the bottom of the fourth inning. In the sixth inning, Matt Chapman robbed of a home run. Flores, however, did hit a double, and Soler single puts runners at the corners with one out in that sixth inning. And then Ramos, just little tap of a slow roller, scores Wilmer Flores. The Mets tried to roll two on the play, but Ramos runs well, beat out the back end of that double play, safe at first. Giants take a 3-1 lead. And with the way Webby was pitching, I thought that was all she wrote. Webb seeming to get stronger as the game went on. The last 10 batters he faced didn't record a hit over that stretch. He did walk one guy in that 10 batter stretch, but that's a very solid way to end a game that you start out hurting yourself in. So Logan Webb battling through some pain today, getting it done on the road, which is something he hasn't done all year long. Today, 7 innings pitched, 96 pitches, 68 strikes, filling up that zone, faced 25 batters and got 7 groundouts in those in the outs that he got, 5 flyouts as well. Only 3 hits. Webby not really pitching to a ton of contact in this one. 1 run scores, 1 walk, and 8 strikeouts for Logan Webb. You don't really see Webby reaching back and striking out guys at that rate too often. When he does, you know he wants that win. You know he's just up there trying to get it done himself and will the team to victory, and he nearly did that by himself today. His season ERA is now down to 2.74 on the season. A great road start from Webb. You love to see that, as I said, because he has not been very good on the road this season. We'll break that down a little bit later in the show. Ryan Walker comes in the 8th inning, and he strikes out Lindor on a check swing after Lindor just barely hooked a would-be home run foul down the right field line. The Ryan Walker has looked dominant on the hill all season long. And I really don't know why they brought him in the 8th instead of the 9th. Maybe it was they wanted Walker to face the top of the order in the meat, that you wanted him to face Lindor, Alonso, all those guys who have been raking in this series, instead of having Tyler Rogers face them and then bring Rogers in the 9th. But the way that these two guys have been pitching, I know Rogers has been pitching pretty well, but I would have gone with Ryan Walker. The guy has just dominant stuff, just swing and miss stuff all over the place. You cannot seem to square up a ball against this guy unless he hangs a slider, which he doesn't really do too often. So I wanted to see Ryan Walker out there in the higher leverage situation, not Tyler Rogers. However, that's what the Giants end up doing. They bring Rogers in the 9th inning with Doval unavailable, as he's pitched a ton on this road trip. He comebacker on the first batter of the inning, Brandon Nimmo hits a little chopper back to the pitcher mound. It jumps over Rogers' head. He can't handle it. Nimmo reaches safely. The Martinez singles to right field. So the Mets put 2 on with nobody out. Rogers gets a sharp fly out to right field that does not allow the runners to advance. That seemed like maybe the Giants were turning a corner there. And then he plunks Jeff McNeil. And did he kind of lean into that one? Looked a little bit like it to me, but that's what you got to do in that situation. If you're Jeff McNeil, if you got a ball anywhere close to you, you stand still and you let that thing hit you. You need base runners bad in that situation. Credit Jeff McNeil. He did exactly what he should have done in that situation. Rogers comes in a lot. I mean, Dan plays around with the inside part of the plate a lot, and he gets really close to hitting guys pretty frequently, especially with those back foot sliders. He hits Jeff McNeil, and credit Jeff McNeil for having that scouting report done on Rogers and knowing he was probably going to face some breaking pitches that come right at him. Remember, Rogers struck out a guy on a ball that hit the batter in the face earlier this year. So Rogers, that he plays around with the inside part of that strike zone, and in a lot of times that ball will run into the left-hand side of the batter's box when he's trying to pitch lefties inside. This one costs him big time. Loads the bases with one out, a double down the left field line by Harrison Bader, who, by the way, I don't know why I haven't really realized this before, but that dude looks so much like Jake Paul and just frustrates me. I do not like Jake Paul or his brother Logan. Like, if you like, like boxing or MMA or anything like that, which I do, I get down on some of those sports as well. I don't want to see a guy like Jake Paul going in there and ruining those sports for me. And I definitely don't want to see a Jake Paul lookalike giving the Mets a 3-3 tie ball game in the ninth inning, 2 RBI double on that ball smack down the right field line. I mean, Harrison Bader, that ginger beard is a tough look, man. But I mean, he does pick up that 2 RBI knock to tie it up in the ninth inning. The Giants intentionally walk Brett Baty, who's been really good defensively today. I mean, you saw him make the play on the tarp, and you heard Dave Fleming reference that Nolan Arenado play, which, Dave, we really didn't need that, man. I didn't need that in my life on my Sunday afternoon on Memorial Day weekend. I don't need that. I don't need to be thinking back to Nolan Arenado torturing the Giants. Thank you very much, Dave Fleming. Brett Baty, anyways, made a couple nice plays out in the field today and intentionally walked there in the ninth inning. Brings up Omar Narvaez, the catcher that came off the bench in this one, singles in to drive in the winning run for the Mets. 4-3 win. Mets walk off the Giants at Citi Field. Giants lose this one. A little bit of tables turning on them. I mean, did shout out Michael Scott in the office. My, how the turntables. How the turntables. Anyways, the Giants lose 4-3 after it snaps their streak of 4 consecutive comeback wins. They can't get it done in this one today. Maybe Logan Webb should have given up a couple runs to the Mets, so the Giants would have had a comeback opportunity. Maybe they would have won that way. I'm entirely kidding. Logan Webb was dominant today. It's a very good sign to see him pitching well on the road specifically. We're going to get into that. Also, we got to talk more about this Tyler Rogers decision and why it's not necessarily a bad one, but it's not the one I would have wanted to see, nor the one that I would have made if I was in Bob Melvin's position. Although I don't think anyone's hiring me to manage the Giants anytime soon. Stick with us on the Locked On Giants postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. We'll be right back. Today's show is sponsored by Game Time. Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even easier and faster. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. I love the last minute deals where you can save up to 60% on buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, whatever you're into. I got in on some of these on the last Giants homestand. Went out to go see Jordan Hicks in his last home Giant start at Oracle Park. Who doesn't want to see Jordan Hicks on the mound? I mean, you get phenomenal pitching, great splitters, great two-seamers. I mean, I want to go out and see Webby sometime this season too. I haven't been able to see him toss a game yet. That's my next target. If you want to see Webby, maybe you want to watch him up on the arcade or in the lower box. If you know exactly which zone you're trying to sit in, get in on those zone deals. They're pretty sweet too. If you know you want to go see the Giants and you know you want to sit in a specific part of the yard, you just choose the section and let Game Time choose the seats. Save even more money. And of course, you gotta love the all-in pricing. Make sure to toggle this feature on to show the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. I hate surprise fees so much, so this sounds great to me. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Welcome back to the Locked On Giants postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. The Giants narrowly miss getting their second sweep of the season. Would have been their second sweep in about a week, as they just swept the Rockies last weekend, but they can't get it done today as they fall to the Mets 3-4, 4-3 in New York. The walk-off ninth inning single by Narvaez, the 3 runs in the ninth, the the double down the line from ginger beard Jake Paul lookalike Harrison Bader. Not my favorite Giants game this season, but they all can't be wins. They all can't be highly entertaining come from behind victories as they have been the last 4 games. I mean, I've been saying every show, this is not a sustainable way to win games, but the Giants looked like they were playing a game that they could win. Logan Webb pitching great on the mound is something that he has not done on the road very much this season. So it was great to see that. Hopefully they can turn Webby around on the road, and it seems like he's starting to maybe turn a corner. And prior to this start, we already went through what he did today. I mean, the seven innings pitched, a 1 earned run ball, and 8 strikeouts, only 1 walk. But he pitched pretty well in his last road start too against the Pirates. 6 innings pitched and 2 earned in that one as well. But other than that, he's been pretty bad on the road this season. In 6 road starts, Webb is just 1-3 with a 5.34 ERA. That was prior to coming into this one. 18 earned runs over 30 innings pitched. That's not great. 30 strikeouts and a 1.68 whip. That's pretty pedestrian for what we've come to expect from Logan Webb. Contrast that with what he's done at Oracle Park this season. He's 3-1 with a 1.03 ERA. That's nasty. Just 4 earned runs over 35 innings pitched, 23 strikeouts, and a 1.03 whip. Logan Webb on the road has just not been himself this year. So seeing him get back to Logan Webb of old is a very good sign. And today he did it on the strength of his two-seamer. We've seen plenty of times this season. Obviously, we know how good Logan Webb's changeup is. We've been hearing about it for years and years and years at this point. We see it with our own eyes. He has one of the dirtiest changeups in all of baseball, just falls off the table. The break on it is pretty nasty for a changeup. He gets a lot of swings and misses with the pitch, but that wasn't what was working for him for the swing and miss stuff today. That was the two-seamer. And when Logan Webb's two-seamer is as live as it was today, this dude is a different animal on the mound. He generated 24 swings on that two-seamer. 11 of them were whiffs. 46% whiff rate on that two-seam fastball. That's very, very, very good. And it sets up the changeup. He only got 2 swings and misses on the changeup today, but the strikeout stuff was working. He got a lot of them on that two-seamer today. And when Logan Webb is using that two-seamer to set up the changeup, he becomes a very different pitcher. We've seen a lot this season that when he starts to struggle, he just reaches back and fires that changeup over and over and over and over and just feeds that same pitch into the batter's box, leaning on it way too much. Today, he only threw that changeup 28% of the time. He threw the two-seamer 44% of the time, and we see how much more effective those 2 pitches were. We see how much more effective Logan Webb is as a pitcher when he's doing that. And it helps the strikeout numbers for sure when the two-seamer's moving the way it was today, jumping out of the hand. It was nice and warm out there in New York. So, Logan Webb was nice and limber, all lubed up for this start. And you had a little bit more elasticity in that arm for pitchers on those warm days. Generally see pitching numbers a little bit better for those top tier guys. The ball does fly a little bit farther on those warm days as well, but with a ground ball pitcher like Logan Webb, not something you really got to worry about too much with him on the mound. He's not going to give up a ton of home runs, and he really should have earned the win today. He pitched very, very well, more than good enough to pick up a win, but the Giants couldn't do that. He was in line for the win before that 9th inning collapse by Tyler Rogers. And why did we see Tyler Rogers in the 9th anyways? We got Ryan Walker, who pitched in today's game, and I know the bullpen's pitched a lot of innings lately, so maybe it's been a little weird. Also of note, Doval he pitched yesterday in a game that he didn't really need to pitch in. The Giants were up 5 runs and they had Doval pitch to close it out. I mean, I don't know why we didn't just bring in Tyler Rogers in that situation and use him yesterday instead of using Doval for a closer game, saving his arm. He's a guy who threw a lot. I was kind of wondering why he came in yesterday when he did. I'm also not really remembering if Tyler Rogers was fresh and ready to go yesterday, because the bullpen has thrown a lot of innings. So maybe he wasn't ready to go yesterday. Maybe that he was just an unavailable arm out of the pen. And that's why we got Doval to close it out. Anyways, for whatever reason, we get Tyler Rogers in the 9th today instead of Ryan Walker. I would have much rather seen Ryan Walker in this ninth inning. Just put Tyler Rogers in the eighth. Just switch him. One of these guys has been much better in a high leverage situation than the other. We'll get into that on the other side of the Locked On Giants postcast. Stick with us. We're going to take a quick break here. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. We'll be right back. Get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. I love that. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com/T-M and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com. Welcome back to the Locked On Giants postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. And today the Giants fall 4-3 to the New York Mets as they walk the Giants off at Citi Field. The Giants, a little taste of their own medicine as they've won 4 consecutive come from behind victories coming into this game. They can't get it done in this one. Instead, the Mets turn the tables on the Giants and they get the comeback win in the ninth inning. But I'm confused. And so is Nicholas, my guy Nicholas in the chat. I'm confused about why Ryan Walker was used in the eighth instead of the ninth. But shout out the Giants for still being able to win this series. 4-2 road trip is nothing to shake your head at. If they can win every road series for the rest of the year, they're going to be a playoff team. So I'll take 2-1 road series wins 100 times out of 100 times. This Giants team, however, could have made this a sweep if they were able to lock down that ninth inning. Tyler Rogers has been pretty good this season, although his stuff isn't as good as Ryan Walker. And Ryan Walker just has that dominant slider, that dominant sweeper, the dominant fastball, the dominant sinker. And Rogers, he just gives you a different look. He's been pretty good in his own right. I mean, guys can't really get hard contact off of him. He doesn't walk guys. He's in the top 1% of walk rating this season because he hasn't walked anybody. So Tyler Rogers doesn't issue a lot of free passes. However, he did issue one today as he hit Jeff McNeil with a pitch. He's also really good at avoiding barrels, hard hit percentage, ground ball rate. All of these are in the top 10% of major league pitchers. His average exit velocity is in the top 3% of all pitchers in baseball. And his expected ERA is in the top 6%, 2.50. So he's been very dominant. All the advanced metrics say that Tyler Rogers has been pitching great this year, not just and it kind of, despite not having the dominant stuff, we know he's the submariner is not going to be up there throwing 95 to 100 miles an hour on the hill. That's just not the kind of guy he is. He's throwing a bunch of risers and weird frisbees at you, which throws guys off for sure. It's not what you're used to facing. But I really would have rather seen Ryan Walker in this one because this guy with the big crossover sidestep has been so good for the Giants this year for as many categories as Tyler Rogers is in, like the top 10% of relievers in. Ryan Walker is in even more of those categories. Ryan Walker has been so dominant this year. I mean, just look up his baseball savant page on MLB.com and every single stat that they have that little sliding measuring bar for is all the way to the right and red, which if you use this website a lot, which I think a lot of baseball fans peruse every now and again on StatCast, that's a good sign. When your numbers are looking like that, that means that your advanced metrics say that you're a pretty good pitcher, even if the results haven't been there. For Tyler Rogers and Ryan Walker, the results have both been there and the advanced metrics back up what they've been doing. So I get that Tyler Rogers has been pitching pretty well this year, but at the end of the day, in the ninth inning, I want someone closing out the game who's got dominant stuff, a guy that can, when he gets into trouble, lean on that stuff and reach back and get a strikeout, reach back, grab 98, 99 on the radar gun and fire it over the plate. A guy who's got a devastating sweeper, or breaking pitch of any kind. That is who I want to see in those leverage situations. That's why I like Randy Rodriguez to get more opportunities in leverage moments. We saw him. We've seen Randy get more and more chances. Last night was probably the biggest situation that he's pitched in. With that same logic, that's why I want Ryan Walker out there in the ninth. If Doval's unavailable, I want Ryan Walker. That's who I want, point blank. I think he's the clear-cut number 2 on this staff. And Tyler Rogers has been good, but we've seen throughout his career that he can't really be used in those high leverage situations over and over again without it coming back to bite the Giants. And today it bit him. 4-3 loss, as they get walked off in the 9th inning. I did want to make give a little bit of shine to Brett Wisely, as he's kind of gotten lost in the shuffle of all these young rookies, all the youth movement. I feel like we don't give Wisely nearly enough credit. Today, another multi-hit game for Wisely. He smacks a home run. He had an RBI, a run scored. He only struck out once. His batting average now up to 438 on the season. His OPS over 1,000. This guy hit a home run this year in the bigs as a shortstop before Marco Luciano did. And Luciano's the one who's the big bat. Wisely is like an ultra utility guy, can play all over the field. We saw him play first base yesterday. But this is the type of guy that I think you need on your team as like a glue guy to win games. I know the Giants didn't win today, but this is guys like that is how you win games like their game today, even though they couldn't get it done. Brett Wisely did everything he could do to put the Giants in a position to win. And he's not an everyday player. He's not a guy who's out there all the time, yet you don't got to get ready if you stay ready. You know, that's the great saying. And Brett Wisely, man, seems like he is staying ready, because since he's come up to the bigs this season, he had a cup of coffee up here last year, but since he's come up this year, he has just been on a tear, man. And for every bit as good as Luciano has been with the bat, Brett Wisely's hitting just as good. And I'm not trying to dump on Luciano. I know a lot of people are taking my show yesterday as like, I hate Marco Luciano. No, I love Marco Luciano. I think this guy's going to be a cornerstone piece of this franchise, an all-star in the future for the Giants. I just don't think he's a very good defensive shortstop. Brett Wisely, however, is a guy who's not expected to have a Marco Luciano type bat, yet here he is producing at relatively the same level since both of these guys have gotten their call up this season. Brett Wisely is a guy who gets lost in the mix because he's not one of those top tier Giants prospects. He's not a Kyle Harrison. He's not a Luis Matos. He's not an Elliot Ramos. He's not a Marco Luciano. He's not any of these guys. He's Brett Wisely. You know, he's the little guy out there on the field, the fast little guy who, quote, doesn't have a lot of power, but he didn't need much. I guess he was able to still swat a home run with not a lot of power today. But I really like tough guys like this who find a way to contribute to winning no matter where they are on the field. Guys who can come in off the bench and contribute to a win any given day of the week at any given position on a baseball field. That's a ball player, man. Like that Brett Wisely, baseball player through and through. And you got to have some guys like that on your team to win games. I feel like all those Giants, you know, the 2010, 2012, 2014 teams even were all just chocked full of guys like that, like Cody Ross and guys like that who were never, you know, supposed to be excellent all-star level players, but were tough dudes who could come in and just battle out at bat, grind out an at bat, make some plays in the field, can play multiple positions, can contribute to winning in a ton of different ways, and know how to do everything out there on a baseball field. Brett Wisely is that guy for the Giants right now. And he needs some credit because he very frequently gets lost in the shuffle with all these other big rookie names. He's not going to go out here and win NL Player of the Week like Matos did last week, who, by the way, Matos has cooled down significantly. Another 0 for at the plate today, 0 for 4, one strikeout, his batting average down to 259 on the season after that red hot week last week. Kind of came back to reality a little bit this week, but he's still been pretty good in the field, much better than he was his first couple games after being called up. And I think he's done enough to deserve a shot to stay with the big league club going forward. Same with Ramos. 1 for 3 today. He also picked up an RBI in this one on that slow roller where he beat out the back end of the double play. Luciano didn't play in this one. So the Giants youth, we had to check in on them. Brett Wisely frequently getting lost in the shuffle, but was a big part of this Giants game today. and has really contributed to a lot of wins on this road trip. I think Wisely should stay up with the club as well. I think it's more realistic for a guy like that to be able to lock down a roster spot going forward. Honestly, more realistic for Wisely to stick with the team going forward than Luciano once Ahmed comes back, in my opinion, because Wisely can play a ton of different positions. You're not going to DFA Nick Ahmed. You're not going to trade him. He's going to come back and play shortstop. Are you going to keep two shortstops on your big league roster? I don't know if the Giants are going to want to do that, especially with as deep as their bullpen is, with as many roster spots as they give to pitchers. I don't know that the Giants are going to want two shortstops on their big league roster. I think they're going to need to have one of those bench guys be a utility guy. And I think that's what Brett Wisely offers. I'm not saying that Wisely's a better bat. I'm not saying Wisely's even a better player than Marco Luciano right now. But I'm saying that he's able to play more positions, which gives him more opportunities to get on the field, because Marco Luciano right now only has one defensive position. He don't play it very well. So Brett Wisely doing everything he can to make his case to stay with the big league club. We'll see what the Giants decide to do. Michael Conforto should be coming back any day now, so the Giants are going to have to make some sort of a roster move. Hopefully we're going to have some pitchers returning too, although it seems like Alex Cobb just keeps having setback after setback after setback. At this point, are we going to get Robbie Ray back before Alex Cobb? I mean, my God, this guy was supposed to be back early May was what we were told. It is now almost June, and what's this guy doing? I mean, he seems to be at the same point in his rehab as Robbie Ray. They're both throwing limited bullpen sessions, and that's about it. So remains to be seen what the Giants will do with this roster construction going forward. I think we'll see a lot of these rookies shuttled up and down between San Francisco and Sacramento for the rest of the season. Who knows who stays on the team? They have a ton of young guys on this team, and I guarantee you not every single one of them is going to stay with the team. So we'll see what happens. The Giants, again, 4-3 loss to the New York Mets after the walk-off win in New York at Citi Field for Omar Narvaez and the Mets, giving the Giants a taste of their own medicine that they've been putting on the Mets and the Pirates for the last 4 games. As the Giants, they had won 4 in a row. They had won 8 of their last 9. Now they drop this one, that with the loss, they fall to 27-27, back to the gravitational pull of 500 as they come back to Oracle Park. Very, very tough homestand coming up. You got the Phillies and the Yankees, some really fun matchups coming at you. However, I got to let you guys know, I'll close the show with this. I'm not going to be able to bring you guys the Giants postcast on Wednesday for the final game of the Philly series, and I'm not going to be able to bring it to you for the 3 games of the Yankee series. I'm real bummed about this. I have some other obligations I got to take care of. However, I say that like it's a bad thing. I'm going to Hawaii for a bachelor party. It's pretty great. Don't feel bad for me. However, terrible timing by my guy Justin, who's getting married. Shout out Justin. But dude, please plan this better. Like, my God, I would say next time, but hopefully, there's not a next time. But I mean, who plans their bachelor party during Giants Yankees weekend, man? I mean, come on, dude. So no Giants Yankees post-game shows. We'll miss you guys on that last game of the Giants Philly series as well. We'll be keeping tabs, though. I'll be watching every single one of those Giants games, so I'll be able to get right back to it when the Giants finish their Yankees series and move on to the next one. I'll come to you live with all of those games from that series as well. That's all the time we got for you guys today on the Locked On Giants postcast. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. We'll see you next time as the Giants return to Oracle Park, face the Phillies. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for listening. Peace.